The Phoenix Suns are one of the most active, one of the most adaptable defenses in the NBA. They have some layers to their process that are very unique and impactful within that. That's exactly what we're here to break down. Peel switches are within the Suns' defensive process. Let's get to it now. All right, so we're talking about the Suns and their general defensive process across a handful of games that I decided to pull some clips from. Looking specifically at the topic of peel switches, we'll get to the definition of that as we get into the clips, but just generally speaking, we'll be looking at the Suns and just why they find ways to be so successful defensively. So start out with them. Obviously, all of these clips are going to be on the defensive end of the floor, and we just look at some of their pickup points. So you got Jordan Goodwin navigating over the top of what would have been a handoff for Cade Cunningham. After the ball pressure that shrinks the shot clock, the Pistons are already at 15 seconds on the clock. That's exactly what you want. You take away the ball from getting from their best ball handler, their really only true point of attack initiator. All that's going to do is bleed the shot clock in your favor, allow for you to kind of weaponize that pressure of the clock on the offense. So you get to Cade still working to get the ball, tick, tick, tick. It's taking all of these extra efforts and time off of the clock. 12 seconds, and the Pistons, as you can see here, already haven't scored in the last 3.5 minutes. But in this possession alone, there's 12 seconds left. They haven't even gotten close to breaking the three-point line, yet alone putting pressure on the Suns' defense. So after all of this work that Jordan Goodwin does, from denial to disrupting the pass that ultimately gets to Cade, to eating up the airspace and making him have to work around all of that, the Suns can then get into their gaps defensively, which we see here as you see Cade get ready to turn the corner. You see Jamari Bouye to Cade Cunningham's left, and to the right of Cade Cunningham, the direction he's driving right now, Dillon Brooks. I point those two out because what the Suns are doing is they're essentially creating a triangle of defense. Drive one direction, you got to get past the ball handlers, match up initially, and then you got someone in that gap, and then you got Bouye in that gap. What this gap presentation and being early in those gaps after the pressure on the ball allows their defense to do is really dictate the terms. If you so happen to get past the point of attack defender, it's not going to be a straight line drive from point A to point B being the rim that you're going to have an opportunity to. When they're at their best and they're in the gaps, it allows for them to get into what is called a peel switch, which is the topic of today's film session. So you get Goodwin after the pressure that he's allowed to put on the ball. He's able to get beat so long as he's not blown by. And because he's not blown by, that allows for him to control the speed at which Cade Cunningham turns the corner. By way of doing that, and you can see the inside hand that's also forcing Cade to be strong with this handle, because if he's not, Goodwin's plucking that away, and it's probably going to be 2 points for the Suns. Dillon Brooks is now enabled to peel off of his matchup in the corner, Javonte Green, to flatten out the drive from Cade Cunningham after he wins on leverage downhill with Jordan Goodwin. And Jordan Goodwin simply able to peel off of Cade Cunningham and get to that shooter that's in the corner in Javonte Green. And because of that, the Suns are effectively able to cut off the biggest pressure, the biggest fire on the court right now for the Pistons, which is their MVP candidate, Cade Cunningham. Again, after bleeding away the shot clock, coming in succession of multiple possessions, and that allows for Jordan Goodwin to simply close out strong to someone in the corner. Javonte Green is a decent three-point shooter. If he's shooting shots and it's not Cade Cunningham, that's a win for the Suns defense, as well as the rhythm at which the shot is coming. A no-dip three from Javonte Green is something the Suns would invite every possession. They get the stop. And I bring this one back for you to appreciate all of the things that are happening with the Suns and the cadence and speed at which it is all in real time. Just getting the feel and understanding for what the pressure layers are for them, why the peel switch is effective, how it's effective, and ultimately how it allows for the Suns to be consistently successful defensively. We get to this next one. This one's going to be a lot more simple, but as you've seen a little bit of a template for what it looks like, you can start to kind of pick up on it yourself. So I'll let this one kind of flow through undeterred. You see the kind of surprising nature at which this one comes. So again, at the point of attack initially starting this defensive possession, look who that is. That's not Jordan Goodwin. That's not Dillon Brooks, Ryan Dunn, Colin Gillespie. That's Devin Booker. That's your franchise player picking up on the other side of half court or the other side of the full court for your team defensively, helping to set that tone. Speeds up Tari Eason, heating him up just enough that speeds up the action that they ultimately wanted to get to. You tandemize that with also, as you see here, Royce O'Neal being in great position, getting into that gap early off of Kevin Durant. He throws the peel switch at Eason. Eason is not anticipating that. Because he's not anticipating that, that leads to an errant pass that's also not even close to being accurate. And he can't even hit the 7-footer with a 7'2" wingspan of Kevin Durant. That's only a handful of feet away from him. Turnover, advantage Suns. They win an extra possession at a crucial juncture and moment in that game. Get to this next one. And as you start to catch up and get a little bit of a beat on what the Suns are doing with their defense, now we're paying close attention to their off-ball defense. And this is an important part because they force opponents to work through multiple layers of the clock and are able to be so physical, so aggressive, so early in possessions, it allows for even just one instance of a peel switch that catches a team off guard to put their defense in position to be successful. So you get Cade Cunningham, different Detroit Pistons game, but the same result. Trying to get the ball off the ball initially, get him in movement. Dillon Brooks says absolutely not. Great job on the physicality with the top lock, forcing him to work through multiple layers of pressure as he passes the baton off to Grayson Allen. He picks up right where Dillon Brooks left off. All of that forcing the primary ball handler here to ultimately have to look away from Cade Cunningham because guess what? Look at the shot clock. 10 seconds left after the extended pickup points, and then the top lock. And then the off-ball switch where Grayson Allen meets that pressure that Dillon Brooks put on the ball on the Cade Cunningham with his own. They just force them to have to go off script with their offense. And as you get to that point, you get to this kind of 10-second spot on the shot clock, nothing's happened on offense. Things become a lot more predictable once you get to the middle layer and the late layer of the shot clock. Because of all of that, Jordan Goodwin can be aggressive on the ball here, knowing that he has all types of help. Now, in this situation, because of the long-distance nature of the drive starting this far up the court, that means there's a lot more reaction time for defender number 1 right here and also Iguodala, and defender number 2 and Royce O'Neal to suss out their decision-making from there to cover up for Jordan Goodwin on the ball. So you can kind of see what's happening. They're starting to shrink the floor again like we talked about on that very first possession as far as the peel switch dynamic goes. And now they're at a point where either one of those two can make the peel switch decision and the Suns will be in the right in terms of staying in advantage as you get in the drive that kind of threatens the rim a little bit. So as we let this one kind of flow through, you'll see ultimately what happens and how it happens. So you see, again, the convergence of bodies. We even get Dillon Brooks coming into the fold. There's 4-on-2 in this still frame right here. There's only 2 Detroit Piston threats at this moment. Jaden Ivey with the ball, and obviously Isaiah Stewart at the weak side block right now behind Oso Ighodaro. But the Suns have essentially boxed in the ball handler. This is a picture-perfect defensive possession, and what you want to see, whatever decision they make from there is going to be a good one. No pun intended. It's a good win. Peel switch with Oso Ighodaro. And you see the hand activity from Oso outside of just executing the peel switch, which allows for the Suns to gain a possession, and then they're off to the races in transition. And I bring this one back again so you can just appreciate the initial pressure on the ball as well as the pressure off the ball that allows for them to be successful and dictate the terms of play late in the clock. And this is ultimately what makes this Sun team so good. So you get the wide action screen. Duncan Robinson can't pry open Cade Cunningham, forces Ivy to dribble into traffic essentially. And that's exactly where the Suns want you to be. Once you get caught in their web defensively, you're pretty much at their mercy, and they're able to do things like that we saw there. You get to this next clip against the Miami Heat. This was a very fun rep. So again, we get the off-ball dynamic of their defense coming from sideline out of bounds. You see the early top lock here from Dillon Brooks that keeps Norman Powell from using that screen from Tyler Hero. Forces the Miami Heat to go into the next layer of their offense. And as you get to that point, you get also, after the top block from Dillon Brooks, a denial on this kind of empty corner dribble handoff that would be coming for the Miami Heat if Devin Booker wasn't in his spot. In tandem with that, you got Bam Adebayo dribbling up top. Watch where Dillon Brooks is with his defensive decision-making as a help defender right here. His matchup clear cuts to the weak side. He doesn't just chase and follow him. He kind of hangs out just enough to where if there was a backdoor pass opportunity, it was not really going to be there because he's kind of loading that strong side block. After all of that, again, tick, tick, tick with the shot clock, 11 seconds left. Pick up on that trend of when these actions are taking place and how the Suns are staying in advantage. Nothing's going to come with this kind of two-player action here. So you get the drive that ultimately takes place from Tyler Hero as he waits for Dillon Brooks to clear that strong side block, showing him that he has the angle and opportunity for space if he's able to get past Devin Booker. That's at least what he thinks. Watch Mark Williams as he picks up and anticipates this baseline drive because of the body language of Devin Booker that's kind of funneling him towards that strong side block area. The Suns know that the Heat want to get into dribble drives more than they are using screens and things like that. Mark Williams and his defensive antennas are correct here. He's able to anticipate this drive, take away the angle for Tyler Hero in terms of putting pressure on the rim and putting pressure on the basket. Because he's able to kind of take over for Devin Booker with that peel switch, they flatten out the Miami Heat, and now there's only 7 seconds left on the clock. This is right where the Suns want them. Miami Heat's offense is caught in their web. You can't really get off something that you truly want at that point in the clock unless you have an all-time great that's shooting one-on-one, and the Suns are really good within their defensive process there, and they're able to get that stop. And at this point, I'm going to cut it and I'm going to kind of take it to a portion where I got a chance to speak with Jordan Knott and talk with him about these peel switches, what makes them successful, and why he thinks they're effective for them to kind of bake into their defensive process. Here was everything that he had to say to me about that.
You definitely picked up on it. Knew you would. We're trying to add layers into this as you go through the season. Again, without the practice reps, it's hard, but then sometimes scouting or who you're playing allows you to just kind of highlight it a little bit more. But it's a credit to our guys. Like, we're building stuff in our system without practice reps. That's really hard to do. And as a coach, you're like, should we go to it now? Should we hold it back, wait a little bit longer? But then the guys teach us stuff and how they've played these guys before. So we have added a couple layers defensively into it, but I do think our base is still our base. Like, we want to pick up the ball higher, be up at the level of the screen, be in the gaps, protect the paint. That we've obviously had some success turning teams over. That was a layer that we had in definitely more lately, but specifically in that LA game that we hopefully can have it continue throughout the season.
All right, so as we get back to the film and you hear everything that Jordan Knott just spoke to in detail with me, I practiced back in December. We bring it back to real time, a recent game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and we get back to the main topic. You start with their pickup points. They're not allowing guys to kind of just dribble the ball freely, even before half court, but especially once you get into the half court. But once you do get to the half court, now it's about their pressure layer. So you see Cleveland just kind of cycling through some off-ball actions. I want to pay close attention again to this top lock that takes place from Dillon Brooks on Jalen Tyson. He kind of just anticipates that a down screen is coming. This is where your kind of scouting report knowledge comes into play. Dillon Brooks is able to effectively take away another option within everything that Cleveland is trying to get to. And now you just had Dean Wade up here at the top of the key without a live dribble at this point because it's terminated because of the pressure from Royce O'Neal. And everybody else is pretty much out of the frame in terms of the offense. Again, as a defense, these are the things that you want to see. And you can feel this type of dictating of the terms of play when you're on the court with guys that are defending to these extents. So job well done from the Suns and all of their process here. You're going to see Royce O'Neal again just do a great job now containing the drive, doing a good job there early. And as you get into the kind of late portion of this is where Cleveland, with now only 11 seconds left, they finally get to their first point of attack within this possession. The Suns dragging teams into the deep water. This is exactly what they want to do with their defense. And now you're going to see the peel switch dynamic come after all of these layers of pressure on the ball, trying to get the ball into the half court. Then you get to the half court and the pickup points are still there with activity. Now you got top locks and denials that are bleeding away the shot clock. And now just one simple peel switch that might not be anticipated from the offense derails every little bit of success they might have been able to find in those final 11 seconds. Jalen Tyson gets to turn in the corner, and now you're being met with Mark Williams on this peel switch. Not a guard, not one of your forwards. This is Mark Williams that's meeting him with the peel switch that flattens him out for a threatening drive, puts that fire out, keeps their team in success position defensively. Now you get a solid contest with 8 seconds left on the clock, and now it's just about doing a good job getting bodies on bodies, getting after it on the boards, and that's exactly what they're almost able to do there. They don't quite get it done, but they do get it done on the back end of this possession, and then they get the board, and then they stamp the stop, and then they're off to the races. Being able to just break teams' rhythm systematically and also in your process and alignment with your culture, that's exactly what you want. That's exactly what they're doing here. Getting to another peel switch rep, this one coming with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Important time in this game. The Suns are at a little bit of a rut offensively right now, so they need their defense to kind of spear or spurn something for them in their favor. You're going to see a little bit of containment loss from Ryan Dunn as he anticipates this kind of guard screen between Mitchell and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So you see the initial peel switch that's going to take place here between Devin Booker and Ryan Dunn. Job well done from Devin Booker anticipating that, the angle at which he takes to cut off this drive and then get chest to chest with the ball handler, so that he can't turn the corner below the free throw line free. Job well done from them there, forces a kick out pass, and this is where it really starts to get fun here. So you get the kick out pass to Alex Caruso. Jordan Goodwin goes from being in the gap to help on that drive that Devin Booker was defending with Mitchell to now being forced to run Alex Caruso off the three-point line and then contain that drive as he gets downhill. But again, when the Suns drag teams into this deep water, when you get caught in their defensive web, now they have you at their mercy. Guys are all in the gaps. Now, after the pill switch that took place for Devin Booker to help out and support Ryan Dunn, Jordan Goodwin is now getting from gap defense to closeout to now containing his drive. And also Iguodala is already early in that gap. And now he's able to peel switch with Jordan Goodwin. Now Jordan Goodwin is going to be able to kind of close out to this corner here. And as I bring it back just a little bit, you see Royce O'Neal here as you see also Iguodala get in early as the low man to help put that fire out. Royce O'Neal is now playing two. That first pass out of this situation, whether it goes here to Lou Dort or it goes here to the corner, he's going to be the first player to be able to react to that and help keep their defensive shell intact. Gets out to that shooter, gives him a little bit of a no corner close. All of that is just to allow for the time for the peel switch that took place between Oso Iguodala and Jordan Goodwin to materialize. Nice deflection here from Royce O'Neal on that no corner closeout that I spoke to. Allows for Jordan Goodwin to get to the ball. And now again, this is right where the Suns want teams. No threatening drives, no point of attack established. 5 seconds left on the clock. Now it's about finishing the possession without fouling. That's exactly what they're going to do. Lou Dort taking a pull-up three after 3 to 4 dribbles is exactly what you want. You just want to make sure you get the board. They do that. Job well done. And it's on to the next. And this here was probably my favorite of all the clips that we're talking about here. It's just organized chaos. They're all on the same page. Everybody's communicating with each other. They've got their pressure layers established, and they're doing what they do best. So you got Bouye picking up the ball, harassing the ball handler. You get the Minnesota barely getting to a point of attack with about 17 seconds or less on the clock. Now that's being met with a switch. As that switch is being met with the action that they're getting to, look at the decision from Colin Gillespie, and I want to start there. He's got a matchup here in the corner that he's responsible for, but he's paying close attention to what's happening on the ball because of the pressure layers of the defense. So as the low man in this situation, he's reacting super early to plug this kind of slip here that takes place from Naz Reid. Job well done from Gillespie. As he gets into that, as being aggressive as the low man, look at the subsequent decision-making that's going to take place here from each of the Suns as they defend in rotation, scrambling to take away the advantage that the Minnesota Timberwolves offense is trying to create. So you get a little bit of a peel switch that takes place as you see Colin Gillespie peel in onto the roller. As he gets there, you get this long-distance rotation, this dynamic rotation here from Oso Iguodala to run the shooter off the three-point line, and then he gives a nice little bit of a back tap to just throw his rhythm off a little bit just enough. As that's met, you see a peel switch that's now going to take place between one of the two, between Colin Gillespie and Jamari Bouye. Look at the activity and the pressure that they're putting on the guys as they get into their next pass and next decisions. This is the organized chaos dynamic. And then you see Oso Iguodala now peeling back in onto a matchup after everything that just took place prior to that. This is, again, just the organized chaos that ultimately force a shot that's not in the rhythm that the Minnesota Timberwolves will want. They stamp that stop, and then they're out on the break, and they're going to ultimately be able to get points off of that. But as I bring this one back to appreciate everything that they're doing in real time, just look at the timing of the reads. The anticipation that comes by way of them dictating the terms of play allows for them to be the team that's doing more dictating instead of just reacting to everything that the offense is doing. This type of activity is coaches' tape. This is what coaches love to see, an offense off rhythm because of what the defense is doing to them in succession with possessions. And then, like I said, they're off to the races to do what they do best, being one of the best teams in transition. As I cut here and I get back to just more conversations with players and coaches, I got a chance to talk with Colin Gillespie in particular about the Suns and their defense, in particular against Luka Doncic and LeBron James and Austin Reeves in their matchups with the Lakers, and how the peel switches allow for them to be effective in doing so with that. Here's what Colin Gillespie had to say to me about all of that.
It's like you're in film with us. Yeah, I mean, that was an important part of the last game. Obviously, those guys like to snake the ball screen, and if we get cracked on a screen, it's kind of hard to get back to. So if we're in those gaps and in those shifts like we're supposed to be, it's an easy peel switch. And then we also have Mark there as the guy behind us if we need to veer. So it's just constant communication, and that was a big part of the game for us in the first game that we played against them. So
All right, so yeah, as you heard from Colin Gillespie, again, being early in your shifts, being in those gaps, being active on the ball to start and set the tone for everything that they want to do, activity-based wise in their defensive shell. That starting point of being just a tone setter at the point of attack is as important as anything. And when I get to that point, we get here with Ryan Dunn against Luka Doncic, like we just got done hearing Colin Gillespie speak to. Gets early at that point of attack, and I want to pay close attention to this shift that you see right here. So as you see Ryan Dunn, initially Luka Doncic getting the ball in the half court. He squared up directly, Ryan Dunn is, between his matchup in the basket. As traditional to a defensive position as you'll ever hear from a coach, whether it's on the grassroots level or the most professional level of basketball with the most nuanced defensive process. You want your guys between their matchup in the basket to start things off. As you get to the screen part coming into the play here, we're going to pay close attention to how Ryan Dunn shifts and why it is that he shifts that way. So this is what's called icing a ball screen. So Luka Doncic wants to use this ball screen here from Jackson Hayes to get towards the middle third. The Suns don't want Luka Doncic getting to the middle because that's where he causes all the chaos as an all-time great playmaker, especially at his 6'7", 6'8" frame that he's working with. Because of that pressure layer from the Suns, Ryan Dunn is now able to cancel the usage of that screen from Luka Doncic. That's important because anytime you're able to shrink the amount of options on the table for an all-time great playmaker or a prolific guy like Luka, you're putting yourself in a position again to just dictate the terms of play. That's exactly what you want to do as a defense. And as you kind of zoom out and you kind of look at things happening a little bit more, you're ultimately going to see the screen angle now be adjusted from Jackson Hayes. As he does that, look at how many Suns, as I still have it zoomed in, are all within the frame. Luka Doncic can feel this. This is exactly what you want from your defense. All of these guys are early in their shifts, early in their gaps. You got Oso Ighodaro in tandem with Ryan Dunn being up to touch at the level of that screen, and now he's able to just take over for Ryan Dunn immediately as Ryan's now trying to navigate that. But as Luka kind of gets into probing here, you want to pay close attention to how he's not able to just navigate that space. Go back to what Colin Gillespie said. Luka Doncic, LeBron James, Austin Reeves, they love to snake the ball screen. If you've been watching the Suns, you know what snaking the screen is. If he comes off of this screen in their space, he would just kind of go between where the roller is and where the roller's matchup is, who's Oso Ighodaro, ultimately get back to the middle third, and that's where the all-time greats just kind of wreak havoc. Because Oso Ighodaro got up to the level of the screen and then he started getting back a little bit, but also because of where the next defender is here and Royce O'Neal in the corner off of a shooter, they're able to execute this peel switch while also severely shrinking the space for Luka Doncic. And as I pause it right here, all 5 Suns defenders are all in the frame and all in the vision and within the field realm of where Luka Doncic is. That pressure on the ball in tandem with Oso Ighodaro and then Royce O'Neal and Jordan Goodwin and Gillespie all being in those gaps like that allows for them to dictate the terms. Now Luka Doncic has to not just deal with 2 guys in terms of playing in pick and roll, but he has to deal with all 5 Suns in the middle third. There's not a positive result coming for Luka on the basketball. What they want to do is force him to get off of it, even if it is LeBron James that's one pass away. Job well done from Royce O'Neal on the timing of this peel switch. Good job from Ryan Dunn forcing him to use to off the screen and go towards the outer third force before he tries to get middle. Also a great job from Jordan Goodwin crowding up that nail area of the floor. This is heavily congested. This is a perfect steel frame screenshot, if you will. Again, a coach's dream if you're defending against Luka Doncic. And because the Suns are so good in their process at that present moment right there, they get a positive result, which is now the ball being kicked out to LeBron James. And again, now there's only 11 seconds left after all of these layers of pressure from the Suns. And this is where Jordan Goodwin is going to be at his absolute best. Regardless of who the matchup is, he gets to play one-on-one knowing that the shot clock has now been weaponized and leveraged in his favor. Even if it is against LeBron James, he's able to kind of heat him up. He's able to get into his jersey a little bit, kind of play with the timing. Look at Royce O'Neal playing at the nail a little bit. Timely swipe from Jordan Goodwin, and now he's off to the races, and he's going to be able to get up a nice, easy dunk opportunity. All again in succession with their pressure layers, working one layer after the next, after the next. A lot of these last handful of clips are going to be coming against some top-tier talents. So if you were thinking this won't work against some of the better talents on offense if they're on the ball, I got some clips for you. So we get to this next one. Guess who's at the point of attack again now for the Los Angeles Lakers? Complete different game, complete different time in the season. Same process and result for the Suns. Devin Booker defending Luka Doncic. You want to pay close attention to where action is taking place for the Lakers. They try to get to the middle third, hopefully allowing for Luka to be able to get middle a little bit easier, but the Suns are constricting the space. You see Colin Gillespie a pass away to Luka Doncic's right, guarding Austin Reeves. You also see Mark Williams with a foot on the three-point line. He's ultimately going to get a little bit of a step ahead of that, but you also see Devin Booker, no different than the last rep with Ryan Dunn, being directional at the point of attack, making Luka have to choose a direction to go, and then keeping him that direction, allowing for them to get into those layers of pressure, that the Suns want defensively. So you force them to go one direction. That allows for you to play to your anticipation. You got Mark Williams, who was initially up, take some steps back, allowing for Colin Gillespie to get into that peel switch. And as you see, Devin Booker peel off of the ball and onto Austin Reeves, and you see Colin Gillespie peeling off the ball, off the off-ball scenario onto the ball with Luka Doncic. You get the picture-perfect scenario that the Suns want, and that's someone being able to take away that snake the dribble opportunity that Colin Gillespie just spoke with us about. And now Colin's able to kind of crowd that airspace, gets up a picture-perfect contest in tandem with that, and the Suns are able to kind of steal back some leverage, force Luka to take a shot on the terms that they want him to take, even if it is a shot that he can make. They take away a little bit of that rhythm, that freedom. Suns are able to get a positive result, and they get to stop there. Get to this next one. Different context, similar result. So you get a little bit of a flip back to LeBron. You see a switch that's going to now take place between Colin Gillespie, who was guarding Luka Doncic, and Dylan Brooks, who was guarding LeBron James. They trigger that switch. Luka's trying to get in the pick and roll with DeAndre Ayton, but you see DeAndre Ayton has to change the angle of his screen because of the body positioning and the dictating of the terms of play from Dylan Brooks on command of Mark Williams. Mark Williams is screaming weak, weak, weak to keep Luka Doncic to his weak hand, forcing him to his left, like we talked about earlier, just restricting some of the options and the freedom of play by way of your pressure from the defense for the Suns. And then Dylan Brooks does a good job, even more so, making sure that he's forcing him and funneling him to his left hand, knowing that he not only has Mark Williams as getting a foot on the three-point line again, but also the kind of subplot player of the last rep with Devin Booker is also going to be, again, on this rep, Colin Gillespie. You get the peel switch element again as Luka comes off that screen. Dylan Brooks is going to peel back onto LeBron James. Colin Gillespie is going to shoot this gap as Mark Williams drops back some, allowing for him to kind of cut off the potential snake dribble opportunity for Luka Doncic. As we zoom back in, you see exactly what happens. You get the peel switch. Luka's a little bit caught off guard by this, also trying to foul bait. Colin Gillespie does a great job with his discernment, making sure that he doesn't get too close to where he's able to be baited into fouling. There's no contact there, no whistle to be made. The Suns are able to steal yet another possession. And I'll bring this one back. As you see, Dylan Brooks is ultimately going to get this dunk in transition. This is what you want, defense to offense. I bring it back so you can just, again, appreciate all of the decision-making from the Suns in real time and everything that they're doing with their defense. Get to the weak coverage after the switch. You get the peel switch. Good job with the discernment. No foul. Suns are now going to be off to the races. Last two clips here looking at the Oklahoma City Thunder. We're going to get one on-ball rep with the peel switch, but we're also going to look at an element of peel switching off the basketball that we kind of saw a little bit earlier, just a different context to play. So you get early action here, the pressure layers from Royce O'Neal, making sure that this screen here that they wanted to set to detach Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from Jordan Goodwin, ultimately not able to be set because of the top block from Royce O'Neal. Now Royce O'Neal gets into that gap. You also got someone in this gap here, and you also got the blocks and elbows established defensively from the Suns. As you see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander starting to get into his bag for one-on-one action, the Suns have effectively taken away all of the pockets of driving angles and opportunity from one of the best drivers in the game, the reigning MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Jordan Goodwin is a great one-on-one defender. He doesn't have to defend on an island. And that's exactly what you want. You can feel that as a defender at the point of attack because of that. So because of all of this pressure, you get Jalen Williams with this kind of 45 cut just to take away Oso Ighodaro being in that gap. What he's trying to do is clear up some space and opportunity. But as he does that, watch how Devin Booker just steps up in that gap and he replaces where Oso Ighodaro was to kind of load this elbow area of the floor so that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander can't feel a pocket or area of space. In tandem with that, Guess who's still in that gap and just load up even stronger into that area of the floor? Royce O'Neal. Now, yes, that does concede opportunity one pass away to their second best player in Jalen Williams. However, they're pressure layers that can kind of support guys for the things that they're doing so long as they're controlling the terms of play. You get the kick here, and there's an immediate stampede cut from Jalen Williams. But because the Suns dictate those terms of play and they're in those gaps early, Dillon Brooks can just peel switch off of Lou Dort in that corner onto the basketball. Royce O'Neal is able to peel off of the ball and onto that guy that's in the corner. The Suns effectively cut off another drive, put a fire out. There's now 8 seconds on the clock. And now you have nothing coming from the Oklahoma City Thunder offense that they want. Now you get to the late red sections of the clock, and this is where their pressure really starts to weigh on opponents, and they're able to get the stop that they want. Great job again from the Suns in their defensive process. And then we get to this final rep again with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at the helm for Oklahoma City. You get a switch initially that takes place as they kind of get into a little bit of a pre-screen to try to get a more advantageous matchup for Shai to attack early in the clock. Gillespie does a great job of just containing those early dribbles and being physical. All of that allows for Dillon Brooks, after the initial switch that took place between him and Colin Gillespie, to ultimately get back onto the basketball. Great job kind of dislodging the ball a little bit with the back tap as well from Colin Gillespie. That allows for Dillon Brooks to effectively peel switch back onto the ball. Oklahoma City hasn't done anything with their offense that they truly want quite yet. You get another next rotation on the backside from Royce O'Neal. Notice his body language and his disposition. He's trying to do everything that he can, not just closing out to check because he can shoot, but trying to take away what's anticipated to be that next pass that he could potentially make. Because he's in that gap, he forces Chet to hesitate slightly, just enough. That buys time for Mark Williams to make that next rotation over to the shooter on the backside. The Suns keep their defensive shell intact. Now you got a drive that's taking place where someone's on the floor. That's not effective, nor is that conducive, because you got Dillon Brooks that's waiting there to peel switch back onto the basketball yet again. All of this stuff happening all in succession with one another forces all of these extra decisions to be made, which leads to a bad decision, a pass in traffic to someone that's not a shooter but also that's not open, allows for the Suns to ultimately get an opportunity at a stop. And I bring this one back as a final possession just so you can appreciate, again, all of these things that the Suns are doing in real time with their defense. That is peel switching. That's all the effective pressure layers that allow for the Suns to be good with these peel switches. And this is how they just simply disrupt teams. One of the best defensive teams in the league on numbers, as well as on turnover rate and all of the different defensive percentages that you want to be in as a defense.